Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. As an American living here in South Korea, sometimes it's really hard to make sense of all the crazy news that's going on in the US. And I'm sure that other people aspiring to visit or live in the US feel the same way. So in this video, Sam and I talked to 4 people currently living in the US about discrimination against Asians these days. Now, I'm not really sure how much clarity talking to only 4 people will bring on this issue, but the interviews were nonetheless very interesting, and I hope that these interviews are at least a little bit helpful to those of you who are wondering about this topic. So without further ado, let's begin.
How is what you've seen in the media compared to what you've experienced firsthand, or what you've seen firsthand?
A few of my Asian American friends, they have talked about feeling stereotyped, feeling kind of left out, and just kind of be written off as just a smart one and not as having other qualities. My friends can definitely attest to that this has been a feeling, and it's just kind of been brought up or magnified with all of these targeted attacks.
So I was born and raised in Korea, and I went to the States when I was 15. I went to high school in a very small town in Hamburg, New York. Then I moved to Seattle. I went to college there. Then I went to Chicago for my university. I want to compare what it was when I first arrived in the States and how it is right now. I don't think nothing has really changed a lot, to be honest, because when I first went to the States, especially in Hamburg, there's no Asian person. So I was almost the only Asian person in the community. So I was almost like a monkey in the zoo. Everyone will ask really stupid questions like, oh, you're gonna miss pizza and Coke when you go back to Korea, because they assume there's no pizza in Korea. And one person even asked me oh, is there an elevator in Korea? So I feel like they were very uneducated. It's not that they're racist or anything, they're really nice people, but then they're just not aware of Asia as a whole. And also, as I said, it's not really different right now, because I feel like unawareness just became escalated to hatred. Because they don't know the culture and people, they assume something or they misunderstand and start to hate.
그리고 저는 요즘 멤버십 프로그램을 하고 있는데 새로 영상을 올릴 때마다 영어 대본과 한영 자막을 자유롭게 설정할 수 있는 영상도 멤버들에게 올려드릴게요. 관심 있으시면 아래 설명을 참고해 주세요.
So, what do you think the reasoning is in the increase in discrimination against people of Asian descent?
In my opinion, the last president influenced, hatred towards, for example, Hispanics. He said something about African countries being holes. It could be an influence from our last presidency, but other than that, I don't know what could be the reason. And it's definitely no excuse for it.
None of us have anything to do with what went on in Wuhan anyway. So to target a specific race or culture just because it's the China virus, it's a little bit ridiculous, and it's going to get even worse now that it seems to be hate crimes being committed.
There was a dean in my high school, and she was an old lady, and one day she had a newspaper in her hand, and she handed over to me and asked me oh, how do you pronounce it, or what does it say? And I saw it, and it was Chinese character that I have no idea of. And I told her, oh, I don't speak this language, so I also don't know, sorry. And she was like, oh wait, you guys can communicate with each other. It's same as asking oh, French, Italian, English people can't communicate in one language. It's the same sense, right? People have to know not all Asians are Chinese. Although there are billion Chinese, but Asia is such a big race. Not all Caucasians are American. That's kind of the same sense. So once people have that in their mindset, then I guess the situation wouldn't be this bad. Because I felt because this whole pandemic started from Wuhan, mainland China, people started to hate all Asians. So
2020 was hard for everyone, not just one set of people, everyone. And I believe people always try to find some type of scapegoat. We can look at the studies, we know where it originated, but it's not as if people who were born here of Asian descent, it's not like they they didn't do anything to bring COVID or do anything like that, but people want to blame someone for COVID and the fact that it's here in the States.
If somebody is upset with the China administration, what do you suggest like the change be, or what do you suggest that they do?
Well, from a citizen standpoint in the U.S., to be able to influence the Chinese government or the Chinese administration is a little hard. As the United States as a whole, I feel like we should be taking more initiative to really put pressure on, hey, like, this escaped from your facility, and the numbers that were put out the first time were falsified, and they came out and said, hey, these are actually the real numbers. There's a lot more cases than we thought. I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of preparation as far as the Center for Disease and Control for China, and I feel like China wasn't held responsible for that.
I don't think like everybody should be like just blaming China. You know, yeah, it came from China. It's not the Chinese people's fault that everybody's sick. In the history, we've had other like big pandemics, like the Spanish flu. If you want to blame somebody, you can maybe blame the government, but like don't attack like the Chinese as a people.
The people as a whole.
And then, you know, at the same time, you know, like if it's coming from China, like maybe just own up to it. Like the government should own up to it for their people, you know, especially now that, you know, everybody's like, you know, attacking them and are against, you know, Asians right now. Like the government should like, you know, really be trying to defend their people right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like instead of pointing fingers at the Koreans or the Japanese, the Vietnamese, like all this, you know, that's why the, you know, people are hating other people, because nobody really wants to own up to it.
To their own mistakes.
You know,
yeah.
Is there any danger to over-reporting this issue? Do you think it maybe cause a little bit more division?
I would say no. I believe that a lot of other countries, and I say this because I do have international friends that have this glamorized idea of America, and I believe that it's important that these things are reported so that people don't get this idea that when you come here, life is immediately better. I am African American. I have experienced racism. Plenty of my family members, especially my grandparents, my uncles, they have. It's been difficult. And I think when we just paint America as being like this super beautiful place, it can be kind of dangerous to not show both sides of the story.
I actually love this question because I also thought about it before I talk with you. Whenever I'm on Instagram, I see like Stop Asian Hate or like hate crime towards Asian people in America all the time. So I was just questioning myself, is it causing any good or is it causing any bad? Because it's definitely influencing myself as well. So I was thinking, because I feel like it's almost becoming like a trend. It's like a contagious virus. So although it's very important to recognize and really know the issue is real, it is very important, but yet it can trigger someone to commit the copycat crime. I was also thinking it's kind of similar to suicide. If a celebrity commits suicide, TV reports, right? If it's on media, it can definitely influence other people in whatever way, negative or positive way. So I also don't know the answer, right or wrong, but definitely over-reporting on TV and media can influence other people in a negative way, yeah.
Until like people everywhere just like have it like engraved in their mind, and just like if we can just see like less and less of it, you know, then, you know, it won't be that big of a deal. But like until then, like, you know, we need to keep talking about it.
Keep talking about
we
it,
need to
making
keep bringing
it known.
it up, yeah.
If somebody living abroad in Asia wants to come visit the U.S. and they kind of are scared or really unsure, what would you say to them?
Choose carefully where you're going. If I was traveling in the U.S., I'd be going to places like L.A., Vegas, Oregon, Washington. Honestly, more left-leaning states. And I hate to say that because I don't want to I hate blaming the Republicans and blaming liberals because it's so wishy-washy and I kind of stand in the middle. But left-leaning states at this time seem to be a lot more accepting and open to people of Asian descent. Just stay out of New York, though. That's not a good place to go right now.
There's a lot to do in the U.S. You know, I want you guys to enjoy your time here, and, you know, if that ever comes across for you, like just ignore it. That's the really only thing I can say. And there are people that'll like step in situations like that, you know, like it's been on the news. Feel free to come here, feel free to be here. You guys are welcomed, you know.
I mean, I love my country, I love where I live, and although there are some people here who may not see the beauty and value of who you are and like us being integrated together, there is still a whole bunch of people that don't get like the notoriety or the footage or the camera time of them being there, making sure there are safe spaces for people who are coming here internationally. So even though there are a few hate crimes and things happening, that doesn't represent everyone.
As far as I experienced, I've never had any like terrible racist or like terrible person in the States. Even my friends asked me like, aren't you scared of like guns, drugs, and like racism? There could be, but on a daily basis, I personally never had an experience like that. Personally, I don't differentiate myself from others. Let's say even if I was in the States, I never thought, oh, I'm foreigner, oh, I'm Asian, they're Caucasian, they're American. I've never like differentiate. I didn't care. I had like American friends, I had Chinese friends, whatever, like European friends. We're all like same human being at the end of the day. So like I've never considered myself as minority, even though I was in the States. So it all depends on your mindset, I would say.
Do you think a lot of your good experience is related to the fact that also you speak English really well? Maybe somebody who doesn't speak English as fluently as you could perhaps be a bit more nervous traveling to the US because they could feel more like a foreigner. Do you think that's true?
That could be true, because if I think in their shoes, let's say if I don't speak Korean, living in Korea, I would be nervous too. So I don't think it's English America. It goes along with like all the countries. If you don't speak French and trying to live in like France, it's gonna be nervous. One good advice I have, like never be afraid to ask. Let's say like in the class, whenever teacher said something, if I didn't understand, I would always like raise my hand and ask. I was never like ashamed of my English skill. Obviously my English is worse than Americans, like nobody can fight that. So I accept it and I try to learn. Although you can feel nervous, there are so many people who are trying to like teach you, trying to like help you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Once again, I'm Sean. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.